Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lovers and seekers, those who are lost and those who are found. Tonight's fragment once again sports a headline that reads, "The Devil Himself," and the body of this fragment reads as follows. I'm always in it for the money. I'll run anything for the money. What else are you gonna do when it runs out, besides nothing, but plenty of time? What else are you gonna do besides nothing when it runs out? Write a blues tune about a woman to the devil himself. Let's begin. Read with time in mind, the fragment turns on a quiet substitution. On the surface, the speaker claims to be in it for the money, but beneath that claim lies a more severe economy, the trade of finite hours for some kind of meaningful return. Money here can be read as shorthand for worthwhile compensation. Not just currency, but tangible proof that limited days and nights have not been wasted. Money in that sense is honorable. It pays for food, shelter, a guitar that still rings, a hospital bill, a gift handed over in an envelope. The fragment does not mock that, it accepts it. The problem is not money. The problem is that behind every dollar stands a silent counter, time, which once spent cannot be replenished. The narrator's confession, "I'm always in it for the money," can then be heard as a crooked way of saying, there must be something to show for the hours that vanish. This is not greed so much as panic against futility. The devil himself in that light is not a cartoon villain. He is the one who keeps sliding contracts across the table that promise your time will not be meaningless. I'll run anything as the vow of the overcommitted. I'll run anything for the money. Taken literally, this describes someone willing to haul any load, take any job, run any scheme, so long as it returns something countable. Under the reading where time is the non-renewable, this line also describes a very modern saint of productivity, the person who cannot allow an idle minute. Always another shift, another project, another obligation. 1. Running errands for others. 2. Running paperwork through systems. 3. Running late-night jobs for extra pay. 4. Running emotional labor in the background, unbillable but very real. The willingness to run anything is not necessarily corruption. It may be duty, obligation, familial loyalty, survival. There is a dignity in that, a worker standing up, saying yes again and again because bills exist and groceries are not free. But each yes still makes a withdrawal from the same bank, hours of a life. Even honorable labor does not escape that ledger. The devil, in this telling, is less the tempter into obvious vice, and more the whisperer that says, there will always be more time later, keep running now. The fragment begins to sharpen here. The speaker's stance is not simple self-indictment as a mercenary. It is an exhausted recognition that the economy of time, labor, and compensation has limits, and those limits cannot be bargained with forever. When time runs out and work has nothing left to stand on, what else are you going to do? When it runs out, besides nothing, but plenty of time, what else are you going to do besides nothing when it runs out? Read with time as the thing that runs out. The lines snap into a stark riddle. The question is not about a bank balance, it is about mortality and depletion. When time runs out, truly runs out, there is no more work to be done, no more extra shifts, no more chances to correct the record, no more late-night studio hours to finish the track. The line besides nothing, but plenty of time, then reads as bitter irony. For much of life there is plenty of time on the calendar, but not enough of it feels free. Time is chopped into tasks, obligations, worries, recoveries. Later, often abruptly, the graph flips. 1. The body slows down. 2. The capacity to work shrinks. 3. The hours stretch out, but strength and opportunity do not. Then there is plenty of time in the sense of empty afternoons, long nights, days with little scheduled. Yet the future horizon is visibly shorter. Time exists, but not in abundance. It only feels that way because the old structure has fallen away. The fragment catches this brutal pivot, The realization that the currency once chased, honorable or not, can no longer be earned at the same rate, while the underlying creditor, the finitude of days, now stands in the doorway. What else is there to do? Is not rhetorical flourish. It is the genuine question of someone who has organized identity around usefulness, responsibility, and throughput, and now must face the possibility that the remaining hours cannot be filled with the same old running. The devil is the accountant of misplaced urgency. In this version, the devil himself can be seen not merely as tempter, but as accountant of urgency. The devil is the force that keeps insisting that every hour must be maximized toward some external metric, income, production, reputation, output. Under that pressure, even noble work becomes conscripted into a harsher logic. 1. Caregiving becomes an unending shift. 2. Art becomes content. 3. Teaching becomes performance metrics. 4. Time with a loved one becomes slotted between appointments. The devil is not offended by overtime. The devil is thrilled by it. The longer the hours, the more the inner life shrinks to match a schedule. The running never stops long enough to ask, is this how a short life is supposed to be spent? Money in this context remains neutral, a tool, a necessity, a marker of survival. The adversary is not the paycheck, but the unexamined transfer of living time into a grinding urgency that never admits limits. The devil specializes in keeping that trade invisible. The fragment names, in its jagged way, the late moment when invisibility fails. Time runs thin. The old bargains lose their shine. The narrator is left asking what remains that is not just more of the same. The woman as the lost measure of presence. Write a blues tune about a woman. The arrival of the woman in the closing instruction is not decorative. In the moral geometry of the fragment, she is the measure of a different economy, presence. In a life organized around running for the sake of income, responsibility, or usefulness, someone almost always gets the fragments of attention, the partner, the friend, the child, the one at home when the shift is done. The woman in the blues tune can be read as 1. The one who waited through long nights and late calls 2. The one who heard I'll be home soon too many times 3. The one who saw fatigue where intimacy should have been 4. The one who counted anniversaries and receipts and schedules. She is not primarily a femme fatale or sentimental figure. She is the ledger of what did not happen while the running went on. Conversations not held, walks not taken, meals eaten with devices glowing instead of faces met. To write a blues tune about her is to narrate, in the minor key, the cost of a life in which time is perpetually promised to later and money, or work, or obligation stands in for the direct act of being with. No inherent accusation against money is needed here. The tune does not blame the wage. It reveals the distortion of treating every minute as a means, and almost none as an end in itself. The woman is the human embodiment of that lost end. Why the song is addressed to the devil himself. The final twist, to the devil himself. The song is about the woman, but addressed to the one who presided over the bargain, the one who whispered that everything left undone could be caught up later, that endless running was noble, that the calendar would stretch to accommodate both the grind and the heart. Sending the tune to the devil is not an act of flattery. It is a kind of dark bookkeeping. The narrator is, at last, sending in a report. 1. This is how the time was spent. 2. This is who carried the cost. 3. This is what did not return. The devil, in this register, is the patron of all misplaced urgency and all noble overwork that never pauses to consider the finitude of days. Addressing him directly forces the narrative away from mere self-pity and into structural clarity. The blues tune becomes an itemized statement addressed to the principle behind the pattern. Money stands to the side in this reckoning. The devil here did not corrupt coins. The devil seduced hours. Blues as the last rightful use of time. Write a blues tune. The instruction to write is, finally, an instruction about how to spend what remains. When running everything for the money is no longer possible, and when time is obviously limited, art becomes one of the last ways to reclaim meaning from the wreckage. Blues, in particular, is honest music. It does not pretend the story turned out well. It does not airbrush mistakes. It lays out sorrow, loss, regret, longing, and the thin, stubborn thread of dignity that remains. Writing a blues tune in this context becomes a way of 1. Honoring the woman's existence in the story. 2. Acknowledging the pressure that shaped the running. 3. Naming the devil's logic without melodrama. 4. Granting the remaining hours a use that is not purely instrumental. The act of writing is not an escape from finitude. It is a way to stand facing it without flinching. Time is still running out. That has not changed. What has changed is what the time is for. Instead of more tasks, more scrambling, more bargaining, the time is used to tell the truth, to shape memory into lines and chords, to say, in effect, this is what happened. This is how the ledger truly looks. It is not derision aimed at money or work or even at the self. It is a clear-eyed accounting before the doors close, the devil, the clock, and the narrow grace of a song. Read this way, the headline, "The Devil," himself names a figure who has always been less interested in cash than in tempo. The devil urges tempo that never lets contemplation breathe. Always another job, another task, another proof of worthiness. Time in this fragment is the real contested ground. Money moves around, time only moves one way. The speaker has spent it running, often for good reasons, often with honorable intentions, often to keep respectable life afloat. But eventually, the clock makes its own announcement. It runs out. At that point, the question in the fragment hangs in the air. What else is there to do? The answer offered is small, specific, and strange. Write, sing, tell the story in a form that can hold sorrow and clarity at once. Write a blues tune about a woman, the missed chances, the love bent under schedules, the evenings traded, the years that cannot be replayed. Address it to the devil, himself, not to glorify him, but to send back, in the only fitting currency left, a record of what his urgency cost. Money remains in the picture as a neutral symbol of necessity and exchange. What comes under judgment is not earning, but the failure to remember that time is the rarer good. The fragment does not despise work. It despairs of a life where work and its rewards occupy almost every available minute until the end draws near and there is nothing left to do but stop running and speak. In that stopping, however late, there is a thin thread of grace, a human voice, finally not rushing, finally not bargaining, taking the last of its allotted time and spending it on a song that tells the truth, in the hearing of the devil, the memory of the woman, and the silence that comes after the last note falls.